It's okay with me too.
Trying to work on the lab. Yeah, we're good. Yep.
Yeah, don't worry. Don't worry about the lab. You can do that after the class. Don't worry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, don't worry about the labs now. It's there now. It's free. It's, you're not time bound. But yeah, don't time yourself when you are configuring the lab because nobody is going to grade you on that. It's for your own knowledge purpose. All right. Thank you. So let's go back uh, into, let me share my screen again. All right. So we've talked about subscriptions. Look at the cost management feature under subscriptions. And then another thing I want to show us is the quota. So for every subscription, there is a usage quota. Under subscription, if you go into your subscription, if you scroll down under settings, so so if you go to your subscription, okay, so this is my subscription. Scroll down, go to usage quotas. This is where you will see all the resources available in your subscription and how many times you can deploy them. Okay, so and based on region, okay, so it might vary across regions. So I have almost 5,000 usage across different resources. So availability sets, you can have 2,500. Okay. Virtual machines, you can create as much as 25,000 virtual machines in this subscription. Skill sets, 2,500. Okay, so this gives you, so sometimes you might exceed, I don't know anybody that will create 25,000 virtual machines though. I don't know. Have you ever seen anybody that did that? So these are different resources, disk images, okay, based on core CPUs. Okay, this is based on compute now. So let's look at networking. Let's see our quota for networking. Okay, I have some network watchers. So you have one network watcher for every region. So I've exhausted my network watchers for all these regions. Security groups. You can have 5,000 security group within that region. Route tables, you can have 200 within the region. So these are just this. The usage quota just tells us the limitations of all the resources. Not limitations now. The amount of resource you can create within a subscription within a region depends how it's arranged. Sometimes the way Azure is built, you will only be able to deploy a resource in one region. Like this network watcher is automatically deployed whenever you have your virtual network infrastructure in place. So it's not like you're creating it. And for every region, there's a network watcher. So it's not you don't need to request for extra network watcher. This is what you need for your region, for your virtual network. In some cases, if you exhaust your quota, you can always go to use this feature, support and troubleshooting, create a support request. Okay, very easy. Feel free, create a request. Issue type, is it based on billing? Is it based on subscription? See, now you can request increase on the Azure resource of choice. Okay, so you can have technical issues you want to report also. So you can use the technical issues header and select the issue type. Okay, so even right now you can do that. If you have any issues, go ahead. And so if you're a partner, every Microsoft partner has a partner ID. You can, if you have a partner ID, you can validate it here. You begin to get some benefits as a Microsoft partner. You can accomplish anything. Your options are endless in Azure. All right. Resource tagging. Resource tagging is very useful when you are building a lot of services within your subscription and you want to be able to identify them, especially for cost management purposes. Okay, so as you go on, for every resource you are creating, you have the option of providing a tag name. You can apply tags to all your Azure resources to logically organize them by categories. Okay, if you are building a server, if you are building a resource group, is it going to be in a production environment? Is it going to be a testing environment? So you can tag it according to the environment. You can tag the owner. Maybe there's an owner on those resources. Maybe the owner is the chief technical officer. The owner is the project manager. The owner is the IT project manager or the program manager. So just provide his name and tag. We're going to do a lot of this, so I don't need to show you now. Okay, so there are different ways. So for the purpose of the exam, try to get familiar with cost savings. What is Azure reservations? Okay, try to get familiar with different ways of saving costs in Azure. Okay, so there is the Azure reservations. You pay ahead, maybe for 1 year or for 3 years on some range of resources, virtual machine, SQL database, Cosmos DB. Okay, so when you prepay, you are eligible for discounts on the resources you choose. Okay, so when we enable reservations, you get some discounts. Okay, it's less expensive compared to pay as you go. Then there's the Azure hybrid benefits. In this case, you have some resources running on premises. These resources are your Windows server or your SQL servers. So you already have a private data center. You already have databases running on premises. You want to migrate them to Azure. Because you already have existing licenses on premises, Microsoft will not charge you so much. So you can bring your license, okay? BYOL, bring your own license. Bring your license to Azure as you migrate those servers and databases to Azure. So if you already have existing licenses on premises, you'll be able to bring them. So that's what hybrid benefit is all about. It helps to save also. And then there's the Azure credits. Okay, if you have developers, like what you are doing now, if this is an organization, you might want to get Azure credits so that you can just test things, see how things are working in Azure, so that you can develop a proof of concept based on that. Or maybe you are going for an interview, you can use this to practice before you show up for the interview. Okay. And then prices vary across regions. Can somebody remind us again? Why does prices vary across regions? We discussed this, I think, on the first day. Somebody who wants to go? Why do prices vary across regions? Can everybody hear me? Or am I
Yes,
just
we discussed this on the first day, and one of the things we said is the cost of the infrastructure in that region, cost of the environment. Some environments have higher temperature than the other. Cost of employee,
yeah
cost of
labor costs?
the labor costs, and all manners of the environmental costs. It varies from one place to the other. So that cost of logistics also. So that amounts to even government taxes and all that. So that dictates different prices in different regions.
Thank you. Thank you. So those are some of the things that contribute to change in prices of resources across regions. The fact that you created a virtual machine at $5 in East US does not mean that you'll be able to create the same virtual machine at $5 in Canada East, because those are different data centers in different jurisdictions. So a lot of things we're going to go into how Microsoft will determine the prices. Right. And I also said that make sure for your subscription, create a budget, have a budget in place. And that's the assignment. Make sure you create a budget on your subscription. We will review it in our next class. All right, so let's test these questions. Everybody, let's try this out. Number one, the financial controller wants to be notified whenever the company is halfway to spend the money allocated for cloud services. Which approach supports this request? Is it a reservation, budget? Is it management group? Put your answer in the chat. Just put it in the chat. Everybody, we have how many people? We have 12 people here. Please, I want 12 response. I want 12 response. Create a budget. Okay. Number two, the company financial controller wants to identify which billing department each Azure resource belongs to. Which approach poses this requirement? Is it to track resource usage? Is it to place the resources in different regions? Is it to apply a tag to resource? This is number two. I want 12 response. Okay, C. Everybody went for C. Number three, which option preserves data residency and offers comprehensive compliance and resiliency options? Is it the Active Directory account? Is it the regions? Is it subscriptions? Type it in the chat. Yeah, I want everybody to type it. I want to see it in the chat. Take a guess. Take a guess. I won't penalize you. I can see C, I can see B, I can see A. I want like 5 more responses before we go ahead. Final answer? Okay. We have more B's. Okay. Okay, create a budget. Number one, create a budget and a spending threshold. Okay, you want to limit your spending, you want to monitor your spending. If you want to get large, you will almost exceed your spending. Please note at joining. Thank you. Create a budget. Make sure you create a budget. Very important. Number two, tagging. Always tag. It will help you when you are doing financial reconciliation, when you are trying to pinpoint resources associated with the user. Okay. So the tagging provides metadata of your resources. Metadata is information about the data. Okay. Maybe you want to create a resource associated with the billing department. You want to create a resource associated with the HR. You want to create an application for, maybe you are trying to develop a Workday server for the HR. You know, HR is going to be in charge of Workday. So every resource will be the Workday, HR Workday resource group. It shows. So we have an app we are building. So this is anybody familiar with Workday? Is anybody familiar with Workday? Have you heard of Workday before?
Yes.
Okay, so the HR is going to be managing the Workday. They are the owners. So this app is going to be in a resource group. Okay, so this is a resource group, and in this resource group, you have the servers. Okay, you have the databases. These are your resources. You have the network. You have the load balancers for Workday's application. So we need to create a tag. So how do we tag this? This belongs to HR. So let's give it HR IT. Okay. So anybody that wants to do a research on all these resources associated with HR IT, just search the tags and you'll be able to pull out every resource associated with HR. So that's just for HR. So you can have for the security team, you can have for finance team. Okay, you are not limited. Then your data is stored within a region. Okay, so to preserve data residency, you want to remain compliant. There is the European Data Compliance Framework, GDPR. This is very important. So for those of us that are working, that are living in the UK, please read up on the GDPR, because if your organization is found flouting this compliance rule, look at the fines. Your organization will be charged in euros, not even in dollars. So this means that customer data needs to be resident within the region. So Europe collectively has this policy, the GDPR policy, whereby all their data, their citizens' data, does not leave the European region. So they are very strict. So in some cases, some organizations have been charged $4 million. Okay, Portugal is going to find public sector and education. So if their data is outside of Europe, so they find $4 billion. Let's check out. Okay. Okay, so you can research this. So just find out before you create an application, you want to look at the legal side of things. Okay, you have to be familiar with the legal implication. So if you are creating a database for users in China, in Japan, you want to be familiar with their customer data. How is it managed? What are the regulations for handling citizens' data? Okay, so the best thing is to find the data center closest to that region and find a way to make sure that you are in compliance. You might be wondering, so how do I figure all this out? How do I make all this? How do I integrate all this together so that I'm just not looking all over the place, finding nothing? This is where Azure policy comes in. Okay, this is where Azure policy comes into play. I thought I shared this in the chat. This is where Azure policy comes into play. So let's look at Azure policy. Azure policy is a feature, is a service in Azure that makes it possible for us to be compliant. It helps compliance in the cloud environment. You can conceptualize a service. You can conceptualize a business model, a business opportunity that you want to set up, and you want to start building web applications to support that. So depending on the regulatory agency that handles oversight on such applications, you will have to locate the regulatory agency and attach the framework to your subscription. Okay. For instance, if a lot of people are doing payment systems, right? Cash App, Zelle, all these payment platforms, international funds transfer. You have to be very careful. If you are running that kind of business in the US, what regulatory agencies do you think you should be familiar with? If you are managing a payment system, a financial system application, can anybody help? What regulatory agency do you think you should research on? Or health? Okay, let's use health. You are building a healthcare insurance application. You are managing a healthcare insurance application, healthcare records. Which regulatory agency do you think you should be familiar with?
Keeper.
Okay, so which regulatory agency should you be familiar with in terms of finance, tax management, financial?
SOX. SOX.
PCDPA.
No, PCI DSS is for card payment.
Okay. What of IRS? Where do you live? The father of everybody. Yes. So once you have the policies in place, and after the policies at the management group level or at the subscription level, okay, or even at the resource group level. So what is management group? Management group is a hierarchy. So all subscriptions are placed within the root management group. So there's a default management group, which is the root management group. And whatever policy you associate with the management group is going to take effect across this hierarchy. Okay. So there's the root management group, and these are dedicated management groups. And within these management groups, we have subscriptions. Okay, even under the root management group, we have subscriptions. Okay, so it's a 6-level hierarchy. Okay, that helps us to integrate governance. All these are guardrails to manage our environment, security guardrails. Okay, so it can support up to 6 levels of debt. The role-based access control authorization for management group is not enabled by default, so you have to associate those policies at the hierarchy level you choose. So if I enforce a policy for marketing at the management group level, it's going to cascade down to the subscription. Remember I said within the subscription, there is the resource group. Okay, so it's still going to cascade down to the resource group, which is going to affect the resources in the resource group. Okay, so if you want to enforce the policies, you can enforce it at any of these levels. So you can go ahead and create a management group. So let's look at policies. The Azure policy makes it possible for us to manage how resources are created and deployed, configured in Azure. So with the Azure policy, we can enforce rules on those resources, okay, on those services, so that we can remain compliant, okay, so that we don't get fines. You don't get a summon and you are fined because you are not in compliance. All right, so let's go back in the portal. I'm going to show us search for policy. So this is policy. And there is what we call the Azure Security Benchmark. So with Azure Security Benchmark, what it's saying is that once you deploy a subscription in Azure, this is the barest minimum of acceptable level of security, of compliance for your subscription. So by default, if I have a subscription, all these rules will kick in. All these policies will kick in. Okay. So they are going to be scoped. When we say scope, we mean associate to a subscription or to a resource group. So you can see where you are compliant or where you are not compliant. And it's very interactive. So if it says you are not compliant, you just need to go into the non-compliant state and you're going to get some recommendations. Okay, if I have some resources that are non-compliant, these are some resources that are non-compliant, storage accounts, resource group, some storage accounts. You can see why they are not compliant. Let's see the policy. Storage accounts should have a private link. Storage accounts should restrict network access. So all these are guardrails to secure my storage accounts, because the best practice is that never expose your storage account to the public. Lock it down to the network, okay? Because your storage account contains sensitive information, your databases should not be exposed to the public. Your key vault should not be exposed to the public, because we want to make sure that the data in those environments are protected. And it's going to use the audit, if not exist, effects type to manage that compliance. If we go back to the policy, so under policy, is it that we have initiatives or policies? So all these are policy. Let's go to definitions. Under definitions, so under definitions, we have all these policies. I don't know how many, thousands of policies. Okay, all these are policies. Okay, so enforce security configuration. So for different needs, all these are policies. Maybe I want to look at all the policies for location-based policies. You can search. So all these are location-based policies. Restrict location for information processing, storage. You can individually assign this policy to a resource, to a subscription. Govern the allocation of resources. Allow location. So, like, let's drill down into this policy. So this policy enables, look at the description. This policy enables you to restrict the locations your organization can specify when deploying resources. So if you want to enforce geo-compliance, maybe we want to force creation of resources within a specific region, we can attach this policy. So as we attach this policy, we will have determined the allowed location. If the allowed location is United States, if the allowed location is South Africa, okay? So it will be integrated into the policy so that subsequently, anybody that is coming into your subscription or into the resource group, they have permissions to create resources, they will be forced to comply with that policy because there's already a policy in place that enforces creation of resources. But I know somebody, faculty, you have your hand raised up, but please give me a minute. Let me just round this off. Hold your thoughts, faculty. I'll come back to you. All right, so this is a typical JSON file. So your policies are written in JSON files. So this is a JSON script, and you can see the display name. Strong type is allowed, is location, is based on location. Now, there are some parameters that we need to follow. So there's going to be a list of allowed locations. You can run this on the command line. You can run this in the portal. If I want to assign, so go ahead and assign this. I can scope to a subscription. Okay, you can scope at the subscription level. Please pay attention to this. Your policies can be scoped at the subscription level or at the resource group level. Okay, so these are my resource groups. Let's look at site recovery. Okay, your policies can be scoped at where? Subscription level or resource group level. So if you just want to lock it down to a subscription, you don't need to select the resource group. Okay, so this is active for the resource group. Select, and if you want to put a description, so maybe you want to exclude. Now I've locked it down to a resource group, so I can't make exclusions. Exclusion is just saying that, okay, this rule will not be effective on some resources or on some resource groups in this subscription. So right now I can't do that. Parameters, where are the allowed locations? I said create resources in an allowed location. So my allowed location is United States. Okay, remediation. So I don't. Okay, let's go to non-compliant. So for anybody that wants to create that resource, you can customize a message. You're not authorized to perform this task. Okay, so anybody that tries to flout that policy will get this message. Review and create. I'm not going to create this because it's going to mess up my account. So I'm just going to, so try to create a policy and see how it works and see the error message you will get when you try to go against that policy. So that is for policy. Then there is the initiatives. Let's go back here. Definitions. Okay. So there's the initiative. Did you notice any change? Okay. Did you notice any change here? Anybody? Did you notice any change when I switched to initiatives under definition type? Did you notice any change? Anybody? You didn't notice anything?
Maybe a notification to export to GitHub.
No. Just look at the window. Look at this window. When I switch to policy, refresh. Okay, I'll switch to policy now. So look at this window very well. Look at this page very well. Now I'm going to switch to initiative. Did you notice any change?
Oh, yes.
There is definition change.
Sir?
There is definition change.
The definition changed. Yes.
Yes.
What does it mean?
Yes, I noticed that some initiatives based on different compliance are listed,
Okay.
like 871.
And what else did you notice?
The policies column was populated.
So what I want you to note here is that policies, initiative policies is collection of policies. Just collection of multiple policies to create an initiative. Initiatives are based on frameworks. So Microsoft has gone ahead to create some customized frameworks. So if you are a security engineer, if you are a cloud engineer, these are some of the things you will be doing, maybe to help remain compliant in your organization. So for an organization that is in the healthcare, maybe in the UK, what is the healthcare regulatory agency in the UK? Is anybody from the UK here? Somebody help. What is it? Huh? NHS. So there is a framework for healthcare management in UK, which is NHS. So this is the policy, the initiative for, if you are building a resource, a service, you are supporting an application, healthcare related application in the UK, you have to associate this policy to your subscription. You can see that it has collected all this because all these are guidelines that have already been highlighted in their framework policy. So the engineers came up with this. Okay, MFA should be enabled on accounts. MFA should be enabled with read permissions on your subscription. You see, audit Windows machines that allow reuse of the passwords or previous 24 passwords. Okay, so all this now. So instead of you trying to associate these policies one after the other, you can just assign the initiative to the subscription. Okay, just the same way you associate policy, and you can see the name, the what was it called? The assignment name, you know, course policy, who assigned it, scope, no exclusion, see, select, okay, parameters, remediation. Okay, so there's going to be a remediation. Okay, we said you cannot create users without MFA. Now you need to remediate. So it will now tell you, go and create MFA. Okay. It's going to say go and create MFA. So you're going to remediate that and everybody will be all right. One last thing. Let's check out another policy. There's a NIST, and then there is the, okay, let's check out SOC. Okay, there's the SOC 2 type 2. Okay, there's a look at SOC 2. How many definitions? How many initiatives? Like 202, if I saw that correctly. Okay, so these are all the policies integrated into the SOC 2 type 2 framework. Role-based access control should be used on Kubernetes services. Okay, so you have to associate this policy to the subscription. One last initiative, the FINRA. Is there anything like that? There's FISMA, right? What other ones do we have apart from NIST? I just want to see if they are all captured here. FedRAMP. Okay, there's FedRAMP. Okay, there's a FedRAMP high, there's a FedRAMP moderate, and you can see the number of policies. So you can just associate this. If you don't want to customize, you can actually customize your policies. Bring it from GitHub, well written in JSON, and customize here. So it's possible. Assignments. Right now, these are my policy assignments. And look at my compliance. So you can check compliance and see how well have I fared. So if I'm not compliant, I'll check the features that are non-compliant, and I can look at my non-compliant resources. Okay, there's the storage, which is non-compliant. Storage account should be restricted. So these are the reasons why I'm not compliant. So I need to go ahead and fix this. Provide a private link for this storage account. Manage the network access of this network, of this storage account. So the basic thing I want you to take away here is that policies are guardrails to help us manage how we deploy resources in Azure. We can have policy definitions or initiative definitions. The initiative definitions are just collection of policies that we associate to subscriptions that are hosting our services, hosting our applications. Okay, any question? You can now ask a question, please.
Yeah, I think you have touched down on my questions. Actually, when you displayed the previous page where policy were showing non-compliance, so that was when I want to ask, but as it progresses with what you have shown us, you have been able to answer the questions for me. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So if I can get this correctly, right? So the policies are broken down to initiative.
Initiative, collection of multiple policies.
So that one comes first. That one is the big overarching, and then we have the policies from. Okay.
Yes, so you have policies.
Okay.
Okay. So from policies, you now develop initiatives, which is a collection of your policies based on the framework is supporting. So these are policies. You see, under this column, what I wanted everybody to notice the other time was this. So you can see that these are policies. But if I navigate to initiatives, you can see that now they have collections now. maybe for Swift, CSP, for HIPAA, for CMMC, okay? CCM. And then there's one that's, okay, PC, okay, PCI. So there's a PCI. I think this is for payment card, okay? Payment card, data security standards. So if you are managing a payment platform, you know, if you are supporting Cash App, if you are supporting Zelle, these are the kind of policies that will be assigned to the subscription on which the servers were created. Because you don't have to go and reinvent the wheel. Yes, Abiodun?
So this is my question. I hope it makes sense. So if I choose an initiative policy, and at the end of the day, you know, if I apply it to my my resource group, and I then discover, you know, some are not compliant. So if I click on any one of those not compliant, you know, policy, is it going to tell me what steps to take to make them, you know, compliant?
Yeah, it will already tell you the reason why it's not compliant. And if you evaluate that, you will, so look at this one. Okay. Secure class services with network controls. Let's go down. I have 5 non-compliant states. These are compliant states. You have compliance and non-compliant states. Yeah. So look at, so based on the Azure security benchmark, remember I said the policies are written under the Azure security benchmark, which is Microsoft's benchmark for assessing the security posture. So let's search Azure security benchmark. I want you to read up on this, especially if you are somebody that is interested in becoming a security engineer. All cloud service providers have their security benchmark framework. Let me see if I can get the there is a Excel spreadsheet that actually lists such again. This is the version 2. Can't find it now. Okay, this is a spreadsheet. It's in the GitHub. Oh. Wants to download. So please, let's preview. Download though. 1 minute is loading. I'm trying to open the, okay. This is the spreadsheet. Here's the spreadsheet. You can see based on network security, based on identity management, based on privileged access. You don't need to memorize this. Whenever they did that, you can always consult this document. So that is if you are operating in the Microsoft environment. And you don't need, so just note, you can save this. It changes. You can see that this is version 1, and there is already version 2. So maybe something has changed. So just get familiar with, let me share the GitHub page. So the policies are based on the Azure security benchmark. And so, as we're saying, you can see secure cloud services by establishing private access. So this is what you need to do. Now you need to research how you will secure resources. Research it, okay? And okay? So this takes us to the page where, so I like working in the cloud because you have more than enough resources to navigate to the right direction. All you need is to devote the time to be able to do your research and perform your assignments. These are the non-compliance resources. Okay, this TY Bello is not compliant. TY Bello storage account. So I need to go into networking and make it. So this is enabled for all networks. Now it said once I fix it, provide a specific network where you can access this storage accounts, then that policy will change to compliance. Okay. There's a lot to learn on policy, but not so much, not so much. And it's not everybody that will be able to view that data. You know, I keep saying it. The fact that you can see all this now is because you have access to your own account. But your organization, if you do, you only have access to what you need, least privileged level of access. Okay. So you have done so much this morning. Thank you for staying focused. Appreciate every one of us. Abiodun, you have your hands raised up.
Yeah. So I just wanted to know if how many recordings we've had apart from today. So if I can go back to them because I just joined this morning.
So the recordings are here. Okay, so come just search this page. You have all the recordings. I'm going to load them. This is the easiest way for me. I try to use some other means, but it was just messing me up.
So I know you could use Google Drive. Have you tried that?
It's heavy. The videos are heavy. I'll be paying. I have to pay for extra storage if I'm using Google Drive, and I don't want to pay. That's